So, in a recent video posted by the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur makes his case for why he believes that we should consider postponing the primary elections, and I think he makes a really interesting argument. So, let's take a look at the video, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
But we got elections coming up, and everybody's touching the same materials when they go in. In California, for example, they have a digital ballot. You touch the same screen, everybody does. It affects the elderly most of all. Whether we as progressives like it or not, the people who vote the most are the elderly. Are they going to be afraid to go in to vote in places like Florida and Arizona? So although this is generally not a great idea, if it's being used in any way, shape, or form as an excuse, certainly at the national level for the general elections, it would have to be extraordinary. But we really do have an extraordinary circumstance here. So I think that we should consider delaying those primaries. So, and by the way, this is super fair because the elderly are voting at a 70% rate historically throughout in this election, throughout all the states that have voted so far, roughly speaking, in favor of Joe Biden. So if the elderly are worried about coming out to vote, Joe Biden stands at a significant disadvantage, just based on the numbers so far. So we have to be really careful about delaying elections, but this is not the general election, and it is an extraordinary circumstance. I mean, I've never seen all the sports being canceled. Disneyland is now shut down. You name it, everything is being shut down. And we already have trouble getting people to vote. Now, I don't know how many people are gonna show up, and it creates a wild card. Are we sure we know who would have normally won the election? And here, honestly, the disadvantage is to Bernie Sanders, the advantage is to Biden if we delay the elections. So, but at the same time, you gotta be honest about it and you gotta be realistic about it. A lot of people might not show up to vote. So we should at least begin to consider delaying the elections on Tuesday. And I'm not positive which way the advantage goes. You might say the advantage is to Bernie because he might want it extended more, right? But it might be to Biden because, my God, if the elderly don't show up to vote, he has no chance of winning. But either way, these are just primaries, and we're at the height of an unprecedented worldwide pandemic. With everything else being canceled, do not cancel the vote. Do not cancel it. But we should have very, very serious deliberations right now before it's too late about delaying those specific primaries.
So I found that video interesting for a couple reasons. The first reason is just I really like the progressive movement and just people on the left because I feel like there is a lot of principle that happens. Because Cenk Uygur spells out in that video, it is actually probably beneficial to Joe Biden if we were to suspend the primary elections, if we were to push them back. Because if older people are less likely to turn out, that hurts Joe Biden's chances. And so I just love the fact that Cenk Uygur will still argue for the fact that we should delay the elections because he thinks that is right. He believes in democracy. He believes in seeing who will actually win the election. So he is supporting pushing back the elections. And so I do really enjoy that about the progressive movement. I think that the same argument gets brought up about caucuses a lot. Bernie Sanders performs a lot better in caucuses, but you have people on the left saying that caucuses are undemocratic because they pretty much are undemocratic. They're a lot hard. It's a lot harder to go to a caucus and caucus for somebody than it is to just pull a lever or press a button. But it significantly helps Bernie Sanders. But people on the left are still arguing against caucuses because they know that that's the right thing is to make it easier for people to vote. And so I kind of, as unfortunate as it is, I kind of agree with Cenk on this one, just because we want to see who actually will end up winning the primary. And he makes a great point. It is not the general election. We would not be postponing the general election. That is a very, very dangerous game to be playing, to be postponing the general election, which I feel like it would take some pretty extreme circumstances where I would believe that we should postpone the general election. But with primaries, I believe that there is some wiggle room. I mean, they already are spread out a little bit. It's pretty arbitrary when the actual primaries are held anyway. They should all be held on the same day, if we're being completely honest. So as of right now, they're already held. It's already done in a bit of a weird way. And so I think that there's definitely a case to be made where if the turnout is going to be significantly hurt by this coronavirus and all of the, the hubbub about it, I think that it kind of makes sense to delay the elections. Now, he also touches on, we should not cancel the votes. There are some people who are saying, well, Joe Biden's already doing good. We should just cancel all the primary elections, just move on to the general. we should absolutely not do that. We should 100% not do that. Do not believe anybody that says we should do that. It is not over for Bernie Sanders. Even if it was, we should go to the convention. Every single person should have the chance to vote before we go to a convention. That is ridiculous, the idea that we would cancel the election. But it is a fair argument to say that we should delay it because we don't want voter turnout suppressed. There's already enough voter suppression that happens. So if you disagree with anything I say in this video, make sure to leave a comment below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.